This one is really interesting because they have grown featherless birds, and if you look at it, they call it the Franken chicken. The Franken chicken has no feathers, and so if you think a part of the process in making our chicken is that they slaughter the chickens and then they have to get the feathers off of them. So what if we take out one part in that process? What if we make it so that you don't have to pluck the chickens if they come pre-plucked? Sounds like it would be a good idea, except that these chickens, if you think about why chickens would have feathers on the outside anyways, it's to protect them from the UV lights in the sun, it's to protect them from the insects, just as you and I, when our skin is exposed, we get mosquito bites. They get eaten up by mosquitoes, and so featherless birds are cheaper for farmers, and you can get cheaper meat from them. But what are we doing to our food when we're taking the natural resistance away from these birds? They're finding that these types of chickens get cancer. Think about it. If your chicken is outside running around and he naturally has feathers to protect his skin, now he doesn't, and he's sitting in the UV light, that same UV light that you're told to stay out of and put sunscreen on your skin for, he's running around out there and he's getting bit by mosquitoes. Mosquitoes these days have West Nile virus. They're carrying all kinds of blood-borne toxins. And so there really should be some fear to genetically modifying our foods. And so I think as scientists we have to say, just because we can make this, should we? It's a definite question, and it's something for you to be conscious of as a consumer of food. Would you want to eat a chicken who could have cancer from sun exposure, who could have West Nile virus from getting bit by mosquitoes? It's definitely something for you to think about when you think about the food that you eat. I hope some of you think about that. So, what? I know, but you know, you think about being a vegetarian and then you hear that they're weaving the genetically modified genes into our corn, into our tomatoes. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. You're going to have to survive on like protein shakes or something. And then protein shakes are made out of soybeans, and those are genetically modified too. So it's like you can almost be scared about anything that you eat. And I don't want to put fear into you, but I want you to think about your food and be able to make decisions about what you're eating. So this is one of the rallies that they're having in Europe where they're completely anti-genetically modified organisms. So some of the fears that they have, like the things that we just talked about, is that, first of all, what if we create organisms that we want to be able to kill, but they become invincible? Like, let's say that I'm going to just pick the salmon example. Let's say that we think that we're making these bigger, better fish that are making more meat and they're making it faster. What if those salmon get out into the ocean and then they breed with other fish and they make fish that we're unable to kill? Or what if they make a different level to the food chain, so they're eating something that we want to eat, or they're getting eaten by something that we don't want to eat it? When you're playing around with the food system out there, it may be that certain things get out that we want to be able to kill that we can't. If you read about Monsanto, then you may hear about genetically modified crops that we want to be able to kill off, but we can't ever kill them. The second fear, organisms that we don't want to kill may be killed inadvertently. So let's say that Monsanto is making these crops, and I'm just hypothesizing here. This isn't things that have happened that I know of. You never really know, though. So let's say that we make some kind of corn that is resistant to insects, and we don't want it to be able to be killed, but then it gets killed inadvertently. Like if any of you have heard of the potato famine in Ireland, where they had a fungus that got onto the potatoes that were something like 90% of the people's diets. And then when all of the potatoes died, all the people that were dependent on the potatoes, they starved and they didn't have their food source. So what if we all become dependent on this corn and then all of the corn dies because we're messing with it and we don't have our food source anymore? Then who survives? The people with guns or the people that are rich? So I guess there's kind of your conspiracy theory there. And then fear number 3, genetically modified crops are not tested or regulated. So what if they make some kind of crop that gives everybody cancer and we just don't know it for 10 more years? Or what if it causes diseases in our cows? And if we're dependent on beef, what if it kills off all of our beef cows? 4 more fears, or 3 more fears, eating genetically modified foods is dangerous. It could be dangerous. They're saying, you know, when you're putting pesticides and herbicides into our food, then that can be dangerous. Then loss of genetic diversity among crop plants is risky. I think that is actually one of the biggest fears, because if you think about out there, we have all kinds of varieties of food to eat. Let's just pick corn. If there's only one brand of corn out there and something kills that brand of corn or species of corn, then all the corn goes away, and what is it that we get to eat then? So if we lose genetic diversity, if we don't have lots of varieties of things, like think of your apples. You go to the grocery store, you've got 20 different kinds of apples you can buy. If something kills off all the golden delicious apples, we still have 19 other species of apples we can eat. Yes?
Are there such things as seed banks where you take things like that and they keep genetic records that you know at some point?
Yes, they do have that, and that is exactly to combat that fear. Because if we don't keep that species diversity alive, it's the same reason we say save the rainforest, because what if we kill off the one species of flower that has the cure for cancer? You never know what you're killing at what point could hold the keys to our future. So that's why they talk about wanting to save species. But then you also have to question, do we really mean every species? Like, we're working to kill bacteria, so should we say, like, don't kill the bacteria that's on the floors in this classroom? At what level do you say save the species? Should we save bacteria? Should we save the minnows? Should we be saving these insects? Should we be saving our foods? It's really it's an interesting balance, and it's an interesting question. And then finally, hidden costs may reduce the financial advantages of genetically modified crops. So maybe these genetically modified organisms, like with the Franken chicken, it may have hidden costs that we don't even think about ahead of time. Maybe those chickens we can't let outside because they're going to get cancer from the sun and they're going to get mosquito bites. So we have to house them in a special new way. We have to feed them special foods. So there may be costs that we hadn't anticipated for the future. So it's really interesting to think of, just because we can do it to our food, should we do it to our food?